Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we have welcome to another episode of the Dental Talk. Today we have Dr. Shariq Najeeb with us, a very special guest. I'll introduce Dr. Shariq and then we'll start asking the questions. Dr. Shariq initially trained as a dentist. Dr. Najeeb completed his master's in dental material science at the University of Sheffield in 2013. Since then, he has published 50 Scopus-indexed research articles, including 14 systematic reviews. So you already know कि हमारा ज़्यादातर आज का interview will be about research. His research focus is evidence synthesis, systematic reviews, and knowledge translation. He is particularly keen towards exploring the two-way relationship between oral and general health. He has also been listed among the top 2% scientists listed by Stanford University, and his work has been cited by almost 2,500 research articles. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It means so much to me कि आपने time निकाला आज के दिन. And how are you? How have you been?
Alhamdulillah, yeah, I'm good. First week, yeah, winters है Canada में तो it's chaos
Yeah,
over
I'm
here.
sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Sir, with your permission, should we start the interview?
sure, yeah, go ahead.
All right, sir, थोड़ा पीछे लेके जाते हैं आपको. Tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into dentistry? आपने dentistry क्यों join किया and how was your journey through dental school?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this platform.
Sure.
Yeah, dentistry का I think जो I think just start था when initially I was more interested in research before I went into dentistry.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had applied to the UK. Both my mom and dad, they're both health practitioners or doctors. So they're थोड़ा सा एक naturally you're inclined towards the career of your mom and dad
Yeah.
when you're studying. So initially I'd applied to the UK for research based degrees. So मेरा हो भी गया था admission. लेकिन at that point we were not sure कि उसका scope क्या है research का.
Okay.
Pakistan में elsewhere. It was a very new thing. 20 I think 2005 में था जब apply करना शुरू किया था 2004 2005 right after my A levels.
Yeah.
Then I think dentistry looked as a natural choice. Like you could stay in the healthcare field, but at the
Yeah.
same time do a little bit different, do something that is a little bit different.
Sure.
Um, or I know उसमें थोड़ा सा art and craft भी थोड़ा सा involved होता है, like fillings, crowns, and restoration. So I had that idea. So I said, okay, why not? Research can wait a little bit, and let's go into dentistry.
All right, so you got into dentistry that way. अच्छा,
Yeah.
वैसे मुझे ये बताएं आपको ए लेवल्स या एफएससी में कैसे पता था कि रिसर्च भी कोई चीज़ होती है? मुझे तो बहुत देर बाद पता चला कि रिसर्च भी कोई पब्लिकेशंस भी कुछ होता है. आपको हाउ वर यू सो अवेयर बैक देन?
Yeah, उस वक्त I think इंटरनेट नया नया उस वक्त I think उस वक्त हाई स्पीड इंटरनेट DSL बिल्कुल primitive stages में था. तो like I remember going into websites, Google, Yahoo, like looking at different things, like how things work, like natural
या ओके, नेचुरली
curiosity होती है.
क्यूरियस.
तो मेरा जो initial जो बहुत इंटरेस्ट था वो था genetics में,
ओके,
genetics.
इंटरेस्टिंग.
So I was always interested in that DNA fingerprinting, genetics, and stuff like that. So my initial interest in was in that, or I internet web, just finding out, trying to find out how things
परफेक्ट.
worked, and and
परफेक्ट.
then slowly evolved into dental research as well.
Chale, makes sense. And now I'm assuming that that is the same reason why you chose to go to the UK and do an MSc in dental materials, because it's more vastly a research-based degree. Is that the reason कि आपने dental materials को ही choose किया as a research subject?
Yeah, dental materials. It was again a combination of a lot of factors. A
Yeah.
lot of उस वक्त थोड़ा सा by the time was when I was done with my BDS,
Hmm.
it was 2010. Yeah, so at that time the dental materials field was a little bit थोड़ा सा accelerate हो गई थी. Like a lot of people were going in.
Hmm.
A lot of people from my, like I think from my senior batch, like एक दो साल जो मुझसे आगे थे उनका भी एडमिशन हुआ था.
डॉक्टर सलमान अजीम
uh,
भी आपके साथ होंगे, आई थिंक.
नहीं, मुझसे वो सीनियर है. वो आई
ओके.
थिंक He's from Lahore, but I when he was doing his PhD, I was doing my master's.
Oh yeah, because he was also at Sheffield.
Yeah.
He was
So
my
I
professor. He was my
oh okay.
head of department. Yeah, so that's
All
how I
right.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was when he was doing his PhD, I think or his postdoc at that time. So I was doing my master's. So
Okay.
उस वक्त I think a lot of people went in, and then like it when I looked at the program details, it was a good combination of both material sciences research plus
Yeah.
periodontal regeneration. And coincidentally, जो supervisor जो थे Dr. Ehtisham Rahman उस वक्त, he is also from Pakistan. So he had been in the UK for
Okay.
many years. So he's one of the leading professors now. I think he has moved to the University of Birmingham now, I think, or Bristol or Birmingham now.
Okay.
But so he was like he always supported Pakistani students. Like he
Yeah.
had a lot of Pakistani students in his lab. So yeah, so that was
All right,
how
so
I
you
got
did
into
your
masters.
MSc. अच्छा, one
Yeah.
question that comes up in my mind is कि अगर आप MSc करें UK जाके, do you easily get PhD opportunities at various universities, or are PhD opportunities hard to come by?
Yeah, honestly speaking, I think it's a cycle. So when I had done my masters, so I had the option to either work or go into PhD. उस वक्त PhD में हर किसी का admission हो रहा था. Like हर दूसरा बंदा जो apply कर रहा था, like everyone was getting in because there was a lot of funding. 2010, 2011 was like the post
Yeah,
recession
post-recession
year.
phase, yeah.
Yeah, तो उस वक्त 2008 की जो recession थी, तो उस वक्त a lot
Yeah.
of funding had gone into different universities.
Mhm.
So it's always a cycle. Nowadays, it is difficult to get into PhD after masters. Frankly speaking, because there's a lot of saturation.
Mhm.
Universities they tend to hire locals.
Yeah.
Local, yeah, local and university graduates. 90% of the bachelor's and master's students they are directly taken up as PhD students
Okay.
because they
Interesting.
already have a repo with their supervisor. They don't need to
Yeah.
train them.
Makes sense.
It's a less, like a steeper
Yeah.
learning curve.
All right, makes sense. Acha, so you did your MSc and then you moved to Riyadh as a clinical instructor and program director.
Yeah.
Firstly, after doing an MSc in the UK, is that MSc recognized in the Middle East and that's why you could move? And like, how difficult is it to find a job in the Middle East with a master's in the UK? And how is that experience of working in the Middle East?
अगेन मिडल ईस्ट का भी आई थिंक एक साइकिल होता है उनका
Yeah,
एक
definitely.
एक लाइक अप एंड
Yeah,
डाउन
yeah,
साइकिल
yeah.
होता है
Messy होती है.
व्हेन आई गॉट अ जॉब देयर तो आई वाज लकी इन द सेंस कि मेरे मॉम एंड डैड बोथ दे वर वर्किंग ऑलरेडी वर्किंग देयर सो आई डोंट हैव टू गो थ्रू द वीजा प्रोसेस एंड एवरीथिंग
Okay,
मेरी
okay.
स्कूलिंग भी वहीं पे हुई थी
Oh,
तो
okay, okay.
या सो लाइक so I had a little bit of that that luck factor was
Yeah,
there but at the same time it was less saturated. They were hiring a lot of people who had done their masters from UK.
yeah.
um, and then the lot of उस वक्त बहुत सारे private colleges खुल रहे थे.
Hmm.
Although Al Farabi College was, I think, the largest, I think the second largest private college at that time.
Okay.
जहाँ पे मेरी when I applied there job हो गई थी. So again, it was all luck. That the timing, application,
How was that
acceptance.
experience of working in the Middle East?
It was a different experience. Frankly speaking, because it's their dentistry at that time it was starting to pick up. So it was good to be part of something that um,
Was
that was in
growing.
like in its initial stages, right? So it was good
Yeah.
to witness that and help them help their students get into that
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
practice. और दूसरा ये था कि it was a private college, so it was a little bit different because थोड़ा सा when you're working in a private college, so they do look at it as a business.
Yeah.
So like dealing with the students having a that uh, perspective
Yeah.
balance.
No,
There was a little bit different in
that
that sense
definitely makes
challenge,
sense.
but
Yeah.
at the end it was a good job. Like you thought about research academically it
Yeah.
was good as well. I
All
got to
right.
teaching
Perfect.
maybe a experience stuff.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, acha, then after Riyadh, so you moved from Pakistan to UK and then UK to Riyadh, and now after Riyadh, you moved to Canada. What made
Yeah.
you move to Canada? Question number one. Question number two. Is a master's from the UK recognized in Canada as an academic degree, or is it not?
That's a really good question. So मेरी यहाँ पे इमिग्रेशन हो गई थी क्योंकि मेरी जो वाइफ उस वक्त पीआर हुआ था तो and then because of that she had sponsored me, but I'd already applied to a couple of programs here for PhD programs at that time. उस वक्त थोड़ी अच्छी खासी saturation हो चुकी थी,
Okay.
so I was already in the process of applying.
Hmm.
um, and what was the second part of the question again?
Is a
Okay.
master's of the UK recognized in Canada?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Okay.
So the answer to that is both yes and no.
Okay.
So academically, it is recognized. It is recognized as a master's. But when the supervisors or the university see that it is a 1 year master's,
Hmm.
then they say, okay, yeah, like this is what did you do in that 1 year?
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So what was the lab? You have to convince them
Okay.
to actually,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if they actually convince that master's is worthwhile. And the other problem is that over here in the universities,
Hmm.
masters and PhD students, they are expected to be very independent. UK or Pakistan का system ये है कि
Yeah.
they are taught a lot in the beginning 6 months or 1 year. They're taught a lot
Hmm.
how to do things, how to be a researcher. My MSc or especially PhD students ko to they just leave them out in the field and see, okay, do your research. That's it.
Really? Oh wow, that's very
Yeah,
scary.
supervisors are always, yeah, most of the supervisors they're very busy. So because
Okay.
so the problem with
And
yeah
I'm sure
working
it's the same in America as well. क्योंकि work culture same ही होगा, research culture. और ऐसे
US में थोड़ा सा US में थोड़ा सा different. That's a really good question or comparison. US में थोड़ा different है कि वहाँ पे funding ज़्यादा है.
yeah, okay.
So you have got a more support. You have got more support staff. Like you have got in your lab, you'll have a postdoc. You'll have like a staff, train someone who's dedicated towards training new PhD students. Over
Right.
here, what they do is that they delegate your fellow PhD students जो आपसे senior होते हैं या postdoc to train you. They
Okay.
usually don't have time to,
Hmm.
and then the supervisors they expect you to do your own thing. So that's why on average PhD over here they say it's done in 4 years, but average it can take 5 to 7 years.
Okay. So
7 years is the norm that what I've seen.
Okay, wow, that's a lot. 7 years is a lot.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Asha, sir, you're a clearly a very strong advocate of research and postgraduate में तो होती है important. But पाकिस्तान में ज़रूरी ये है कि हम undergraduate level से research पे focus करना शुरू करें ताकि समझ आए कि research होती क्या है. Me personally, I'll tell you a very funny thing about me. मुझे ना रिसर्च का शौक नहीं पैदा हुआ कभी. मैंने रिसर्च की है, आई हैव 4 पब्लिकेशंस, बट मुझे कभी वो शौक नहीं पैदा हुआ. कि लोगों को शौक होता है जैसे आपको शौक है, वो शौक नहीं पैदा हो सका. आई वाज टॉकिंग टू अ सीनियर एंड शी उसने भी ये कहा कि मुझे ना शौक नहीं होता था रिसर्च का. आई वाज नेवर इंटरेस्टेड इन रिसर्च. कहते व्हेन आई मूव टू अमेरिका, शी इज डूइंग अ डीडीएस नाउ. तो कि जब मैंने यहाँ की रिसर्च शुरू की है, इट इज़ सो मच डिफरेंट दैट आई स्टार्टेड एंजॉइंग रिसर्च विच आई नेवर थॉट आई कुड. सो क्लियरली समथिंग्स रॉन्ग यहाँ के रिसर्च कल्चर में. सो एक तो ये बताएं कि गलत कि व्हाट्स रॉन्ग कि अंडर ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट्स लाइक अस हु वांट टू डू रिसर्च डोंट एंजॉय रिसर्च. ठीक है, व्हाट्स रॉन्ग विद द रिसर्च कल्चर, एंड सेकेंडली इसको इम्प्रूव कैसे कर सकते हैं एट एन अंडर ग्रेजुएट लेवल.
Yeah, that's a again that's a really really good question. क्योंकि उसमें it is it there. I think the biggest difference is the number one infrastructure. Pakistan, like for obvious reasons, you don't have those facilities. You don't have um or at that time when I was doing my research, at least over there, I think it has improved significantly from what
It
I've seen
has, it
now.
definitely
It
has.
has, yeah, it has. But at that time when I was there, infrastructure का issue था. A lot of वो नहीं थे कि जो trained लोग नहीं थे, जो
Hmm.
people who were already trained in research. Most of the research work was being done by clinicians primarily, who were primarily clinicians,
Yeah,
right? So
that's
you can have good clinical researchers, but not every clinician, every clinician
yeah,
is not a researcher, yeah.
that's true.
So I think that is one thing those are a couple of things that actually hold our students back a little bit in the undergraduate years. Another thing is that I think US or Canada में जो डेंटिस्ट जो एवरेज डेंटल स्टूडेंट का जो एज जो होता है
Hmm.
when they graduate, that age is around I would say 25 26 years.
Yeah.
Okay, they do the bachelor's,
Hmm.
and then they go into DDS. So that's like a 6 to 8 year program.
Yeah.
Um, so by that time, they already have a lot of research experience. So I've seen PhD students get into DDS over here simply because they didn't have good grades, so they had to do a PhD to simply get into DDS. So
Wow.
they are like, so they are in their early 30s when they start their DDS. So,
Wow.
so वो research करके आ रहे होते हैं, even at the undergrad year, the basic degrees are research degrees, bachelor's in science, bachelor's in healthcare. हमारा ये होता है कि like from inters directly from A level to from and or inter, you know you directly get into a into a BDS program. I think उसमें at least you should give our students 2 years to get mature, have that research experience,
Hmm.
and then you know have that basic uh, at
Make
least अगर practical knowledge नहीं दे सके तो theoretical knowledge तो
practical knowledge
दें.
देगा.
तो
Yeah.
आई थिंक वो उसमें फिर वो बच्चों को ना स्टूडेंट्स को उतना ज्यादा डेवलप नहीं होता है,
Hmm.
जो इंटरेस्ट होता है रिसर्च में.
Makes sense.
Over here naturally they are already into research as by the time they graduate or even during their DDS years.
All right. Perfect, sir. Sir, आपने अपनी पहली रिसर्च कब पब्लिश की थी?
Yeah, it was I think हमने जब दोस्तों के साथ मिलके ऐसे ही जो फातिमा जना के दिनों में की थी. I've done my BTS from फातिमा जना back in 2010 batch 14. So अभी उन्होंने batch 31 की white coat ceremony हुई, तो I felt really
Oh
old.
my God, you must have felt so. we
I was looking at the
That is crazy because I'm the batch of 2019 और अभी CMH का batch of 26 की white coat ceremony हुई है and I'm like, oh my God, batch of 26 and I was batch of 19. So yeah, I can imagine what you must have felt.
yeah. So I was like, okay, so at that time, um, so again, I sorry, I got sidetracked. What did you ask?
Research आपकी पहली कब कब थी?
हाँ, रिसर्च आज. सो उसमें ये होता है कि जो मेरी जो पहली रिसर्च थी वो थी आई थिंक फाइनल ईयर या हॉल जॉब में हम लोगों ने पब्लिश की थी ऑन इंडोडोंटिक
Oh,
radiographic something. I
okay.
forgot. It was like a good starting point. It was
Yeah.
published in JPT,
Obviously,
I
पहली
think.
research तो ऐसी होती है.
Yeah.
अच्छा, so coming from your first research, you've you have 50 plus articles, you have 14 systematic reviews, and you've been cited 2,500 times, and you were listed in the top 2% researchers by Stanford University. That's a huge achievement. एक तो आपको like when you found out, how did you feel? And secondly, how did you manage to publish so many high impact research articles in such a short time? How, like, it's a very difficult job to publish one article. You've published, mashallah, say 50 at a very young age, relatively. How did you go about publishing and, managing the work of so many research articles? So, two questions, basically.
Hmm.
Pehla, how did it feel? Second, how did you go about publishing research articles?
Yeah, it um in when we found out that the 2% thing, you know, the 2% top 2% researchers. So but I think someone sent me a file वो Elsevier की
Yeah.
या plus one article की वो
उसमें
Excel
और भी
sheet थी.
पाकिस्तानी डेंटिस्ट.
हाँ, उसमें और भी हैं. And you know, I think I've been lucky in the sense that I have worked with most of those dentists in the list
ओके.
in research. So we have collaborated with each other. So you know, like the number one thing in research is that you cannot do it alone. You need to have collaborations.
Yeah.
Of course, I've got a lot of articles that I am the primary author, but a lot of articles you see I'm the second or the third or the fourth author.
Yeah.
So you know, there's always a collaborative thing. So you know, it was it felt good, but at the same time, you know, like it was um, it you know, एक achievement की खुशी होती, दूसरी एक खुशी होती कि like you are making a difference, like you are making an impact in, you know, in helping
Obviously.
clinicians and non-clinicians making those evidence-based you know
Decisions. Yeah.
decisions. So it was it felt good. Yeah. So the second part of the question was um, what was the second part of the question, or did I answer you already?
Second part ये था that how did you go about managing so many research articles?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So
वही आपने आंसर कर दिया। ऑलराइट, सो अच्छा, नाउ कोलैबोरेशन पे थोड़ी सी मैं बात करना चाहूँगा कि अब देखिए हम जैसे जो अंडर ग्रेजुएट बैठे हुए हैं, एक्चुअली विल कम टू दिस लेटर, जो आपकी ये है एविडेंशिया डेंटल आउटकम्स रिसर्च, यू आर द फाउंडर ऑफ दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, टेल अस मोर अबाउट व्हाट दिस इज, क्योंकि आई हैव सीन मैनी प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक दिस ऑन द एमबीबीएस साइड दैट कैन हेल्प मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स कनेक्ट विद रिसर्चर्स अब्रॉड। आप ये what tell us a bit more about this organization of yours?
yeah, so I actually had this idea, I think last year or during when in the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown. uh, हमने start किया था ICTER करके. We had like a couple of batches in which we trained researchers in systematic reviews. So it was an offshoot of that. So I was thinking, like 6 or 7 months ago, why I was looking at different companies, like the companies जो MBBS को जो cater करती हैं, जो MBBS की side को जो students
Yeah,
को plus companies को अलग other companies को cater करती हैं towards doing their research. Then I found out that there was nothing in. I realized that there was nothing in dentistry. So I
dentist.
said, this is because you've got so much research in dentistry. Like, uh, you've got literally hundreds of thousands of articles, but you don't have a single platform on which you are able to make those guidelines or systematic reviews to
Hmm.
how to compile that evidence into one platform.
Hmm.
And I think students should be trained in, if even if not writing a systematic review, at least reading one basic systematic review, because if you don't know how to read it, then you won't be able to make those evidence-based decisions.
Yeah, that is very important. Absolutely. नहीं,
Yeah.
ये तो आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है. You won't be able to make evidence based decisions. अच्छा सर, सिमिलरली कि मतलब एक कोई यंग डेंटिस्ट है जो कि अपने कॉलेज में बैठा हुआ वो कर रहा है, रिसर्च कर रहा है, हाउ कैन ही मेक हिज रिसर्च अ हाई, do his research in a way that it gets published in a high impact research journal? It's very difficult to do a research and then get it published because these high impact research journals have a lot of, they scrutinize your research a lot. So इसमें आपका क्या opinion है? What would you recommend researchers to do in that regard?
I think the first step is to
Okay.
read research.
Mm-hmm.
Like, reading research is a different art in itself. Interpreting a basic structure of a research articles, what the introduction should have. And I think the basic, you need to think about the basics of what are you asking in your research. Like, you already have an idea in your mind that what are you asking. For example, you can just ask, is resin composite X, it's a new resin composite, it's the best material ever. Is it good? But that's what हमारा जो एक clinical thinking, एक हमारा hardwired होता है दिमाग.
Yeah.
We just ask, is it good? In research, that's not sufficient.
Yeah.
You need to ask yourself, what is it good compared to what?
Yeah.
And at developing what outcomes? Are you looking at marginal shrinkage? Are you looking at recurrent caries? Are you looking at survival rate? Right? So you need to have that in your mind. So if you have that basic structure, वो बाकी सारी चीजें जो होती हैं वो it falls into place,
Hmm.
right? So you will know what laboratory experiments to run. You will know where to go. Like, if you have that in mind, for example, if you want to look at a marginal shrinkage, you'll probably need to look at you need to do some SEMs, scanning
Yeah.
electron microscopy. Yeah, you will need to find out where to
Makes
go,
sense.
right? So, and then you'll probably meet other people, collaborate with them. They will teach you how to do it, or maybe they'll do it for you, and then they'll ask you to add their name in the
Add their name.
research article. And
अच्छा,
then writing the research article. Sorry, go ahead.
no, sorry, आप continue करें. I'll ask the question later.
So writing a research article, I think it's a major art as well.
Hmm.
But again, that comes much later on after you have learned how to collect that data, how to formulate that research question.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Ajay, Dr. Sharik, how do you collaborate with other researchers? Like, how do you connect with other researchers? Like, how did you do it, and how can dentists like us do it?
So, like, for example, if you might have seen Dr. Juka Pekka's name with my
Yes.
in my research. Like
LCS.
he's like
हाँ.
Hong Kong University guy. He's one of the leading pioneers in
I
material
I think I
sciences.
read Becca. Okay, yeah. It
Pekka,
rings a bell.
yeah, yeah, Jukka Pekka, Matalina. He's like he's from Finland originally, but he worked in Hong Kong. Now he's in the UK. So we simply what we did was that uh, so there's another colleague of mine, Dr. Zohaib Khurshid. You might have heard
Yes,
his
yes,
name
yes.
as well.
I have heard of.
So he's from the same college, same batch. So we actually we wrote a paper. We had a basic idea in mind, and then we approached Dr. Shukla.
Hmm.
We actually said, look, we have this paper, we have this in mind, like we need your help in improving it. Because like if you collaborate with international researchers, number one, they're too busy to write a whole paper for you.
Yeah.
Number two, they um like they don't know you, right? So they don't know you personally, so at least they can know you academically if you send them a draft. कि
Yeah.
भाई ये हमने ये लिखा है, we need your expert opinion in this, like how can we improve this manuscript. So
Okay.
I think you will get a positive response 3 to 4 times out of 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, but you should know why you're approaching that person. Like
Yeah.
like you cannot approach someone who is an expert in say leg
मतलब पेरियो वाले
research.
बंदे को वो एंडो की चीज नहीं भेज सकते एंडो की
उनको फिर भी उनको फिर भी आइडिया होता है. Like I've seen people from vastly different fields emailing me, like from I don't know, environmental sciences or something. Like it clearly shows that they did not read the papers that I've read, and they didn't bother to see my profile.
oh
So like I'm unable to help them, but you should know why you're approaching that person.
makes sense that's a very helpful answer acha sir we'll wrap this up and I'll ask you a last 2 or 3 questions sir आपका क्या opinion है on the debate कि बंदे को FCPS के लिए in Pakistan if someone's staying in Pakistan FCPS और पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन की तरफ जाना चाहिए विच इज़ अ रिसर्च बेस्ड डिग्री या अपनी प्राइवेट प्रैक्टिस की तरफ जाना चाहिए व्हाट इज़ योर ओपिनियन ऑन दिस
Mm, yeah, I think it depends. Again, a lot of dentists or a lot of dental students already have some sort of an idea where to have your practice, how much to invest, and they've got the resources to invest as well. If you've got that, if you have marketing skills. See, I know in Pakistan through a different type practice ka कि, you've got conventional competition from other clinics, and then you've got unconventional competition from quacks as well. So that's like that unregulated healthcare does affect your business. That's the
Absolutely.
truth. um, so I think that will definitely impact our dentists and clinicians for a long time until that is resolved long term.
Mhm.
So if you are ready to tackle that, if you know how to market it, if you know how to if you have got that investment, I would suggest go for um
Private practice.
go for private practice. But if you want to have that niche, like that niche, for example, if you are interested in perio or operative,
Mhm.
yeah, like FCPS or any type of post graduation will definitely help you go into academics as well as stay in work in private practice as a specialist.
Perfect.
um yeah.
परफेक्ट सर सेकंड लास्ट क्वेश्चन एक यंग डेंटिस्ट जो अभी ग्रेजुएट हो रहा है पाकिस्तान के किसी एक डेंटल कॉलेज से उसका माइंडसेट क्या होना चाहिए फॉर अ मॉडर्न डे डेंटिस्ट ठीक है बिकॉज कंपटीशन इज टफ आपने बाहर जाना है इट्स कट थ्रोट पाकिस्तान में रहना है इट्स कट थ्रोट व्हाट शुड द माइंडसेट ऑफ अ यंग डेंटिस्ट बी राइट नाउ
I think they should be open to explore other areas as well, healthcare related areas, like practice management or public health or like like if they feel overwhelmed soon after graduating, like job nahi ho rahi sahi, ya फिर like if you feel that there are many other clinicians that are saturating your job market. Um, and at the same time, I know it is difficult, but be optimistic. It is difficult in these times. It's easier said than done. But it um, have that basics. I know it's easy to just do your DDS or BDS just for the sake of passing. I think having that those concepts. I was frankly speaking, I was not. Mm, I like to do research. I like to read up, but I was not a good student. I barely passed, right? तो मेरी दो दफा सप्ली आता थे बची थी. But at the same time, what helped me in the long term was my concepts, because yeah, my concepts, my interest in reading up how things work. So when you're doing dentistry,
Hmm.
you should be, you should just not read things. You should know how everything works, or how everything
Yeah.
integrates. So that'll help you in the long term after you graduate. So you won't be dependent on just your dental career. You'll have that you can go into research, you can go into specialization if you are interested. So
Okay.
so you should have an open mindset.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. A last question. What do you think about this startup of ours, and any advice or suggestions that you would like to give us? More than welcome.
No, it's great. I was looking at it. You've got this podcast, फिर उसके बाद you've got a newsletter as well now,
Yeah,
right?
newsletter. We recently started
Yeah,
the newsletter. You should
yeah. So
you should subscribe to it. I'm sure you will like it. It's
मैंने
half of it is on digital health. It's all about technology and healthcare because I personally love health tech. Health tech का मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा शौक है. तो I'm sure you will also love the newsletter. You should subscribe to it. Sorry to cut you. Please go.
हाँ मुझे असल में लिंक नहीं मिल रही थी सब्सक्राइब करने की. I was looking
Oh,
for the
okay.
link, but I couldn't find a link to subscribe. Anyway, so yeah, it's a really good initiative. I think it's a good platform. It's and I've seen that you have done some other interviews with the international researchers and clinicians as well, which is good. Like because Pakistan में इतना exposure नहीं मिलता है
Because
बाहर के mindsets. But at the same time, like one more thing that I'd like to add before we wrap this up is that
yeah,
um, we tend to, as Pakistanis, we tend to look abroad as inspiration. Like like एक है हमारे ज़हन में कि
yeah,
West एक superior एक I think
yeah,
probably,
yeah.
like I don't want to go into controversial details,
No,
but
no, no. It makes sense.
uh, yeah, एक है colonization की वजह से
हाँ,
एक
colonial
आप
mindset है सबका.
एक हाँ है. तो उसमें ये है कि we need research done within Pakistan.
Hmm.
For example, we hardly have any data about the genetics of oral cancer from Pakistan. Although Pakistan is one of the highest, सबसे ज़्यादा prevalence, I think top 5 में, I think, oral
Yeah,
cancer की. So
third
we
है.
don't know the
Third.
yeah. So we don't have the genetic or the etiological research being done on dental caries. So I think what you could do is that you can probably focus on having like a small research area as well on your podcast or your platform.
Yeah,
So like gathering local researchers,
yeah.
getting those kind of like surveys, and at least those basic research, asking the right research questions.
Right.
Even like
That's a good
if
suggestion.
you have like if you have like a even like a research done, even if it's not published, even if it's as published as farm as a part of your magazine, you'll have some data out there, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a very good idea. We actually tried to start something similar. We started this research review series जहाँ मैं एक research article पढ़ता था, एक high impact research article, and I would review it in 2 minutes and बहुत simple terms में समझा देता था video पे, and then people would watch it. We tried doing it for a while, but it's very difficult to keep up with so many things at the same time.
That's
And
a good idea,
yeah,
yeah.
especially
Journal club kind of a thing, yeah.
yeah, yeah, journal
Like
club,
a
absolutely,
virtual.
journal club type of a thing.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you so much for joining us today. It really means so much to me. आपने time निकाला हमारे लिए. Thank you so much, and hope you have a nice week ahead.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, and good luck with your
Thank
all
you,
of
sir.
your
Thank you so much.
future.